So the structure and functions of the nerve cells, that is our subtopic. So nerve cells, which in other words we call them neurons, we've said they are the basic unit of the nervous system, and their main function is that they transmit impulse. And these cells have been modified so that they'll be able to transmit impulse. And what are these impulse? So a nerve impulse is an electrical signal that transmits along or a nerve fiber. This electric signal, I told you everything, every stimuli that your body detects or any body of the animal detect, it cannot take it because you can ask yourself, how does it, your body or your brain knows that it is very cold? And you cannot touch coldness. It's not something that is seen, but your body will know that it is, your brain will know that it is very cold, because this coldness, it will be only sensed in your skin, and it will be only transmitted not in form of it will be only in form of impulse. It cannot be transmitted. There is no lorry that is carrying it from the skin to the brain to tell the brain that it is very cold or it is very hot. If it is very hot, that hotness will only be transmitted in form of impulses. So the impulse will be taken to the brain, and that's why impulse, we call it an electrical signal. It is in form of electric signal that it is transmitted along nerves now to the brain to carry information. So impulses always carry information in your body. Any information in form of stimuli, any stimuli detected is carried in form of impulse. So the neuron or the neuron or the nerve cell, in other words, has also parts that helps it to carry these nerve impulse. It has parts that helps it to carry these nerve impulses. And some parts that you need to know is that it has what we call the cell body, which is, or the centron. It is an extension called, it has an extension that's called dendrites in some neurons. Dendrites is also elongated to form an axon. So those are just parts of the neuron. It has also a part known as axon, and this axon is filled with exoplasm, a fluid known as exoplasm. And the axon also contains a membrane that covers it, and we call that membrane myelin or medullated sheath. And this sheath has its function. So myelin sheath is surrounded also by membrane also of Schwann cells, and these Schwann cells are able to make the myelin sheath to be insulated. And how does it help? The Schwann cells always lies intimate contact with the axon, so the Schwann cells will always secrete these myelin sheath. And the function of these myelin sheath, you'll find that they'll bring about insulation. And these sheaths are broken about 1 centimeter in about 1 centimeter interval by a constriction called node of Ranvier. The node of Ranvier, maybe these terms can be difficult for you, but you will go read them. You just need to know those parts. Just identify where they are found in a drawing, because you can be asked on you're given in a drawing in exam and you're told to name the part. Like the node of Ranvier will propagate the nerve impulse and speed up the transmission of the impulse. So, but the myelin sheath will help in insulation process. So just know the function of myelin sheath, node of Ranvier, and just know what is a nerve impulse. What is impulse? Impulse is an electric signal that transmits along a nerve fiber. Myelin sheath, we've said that a myelin sheath is a part that is found in the axon that provide insulation to the axon. Then in the node of Ranvier it propagates the nerve impulse and speed up the transmission of the impulse. It helps to speed up the transmission of the impulse. So the neuron are described in three ways. The neuron can be a unipolar, a bipolar, or a multipolar. When we say that we learn about the types of a neuron, when we talk of unipolar, in the next types of neuron, you will be able to see the types of neuron, and you'll be able to know what does it mean to say that this is a bipolar, unipolar, and what is multipolar neuron. So there are terminals and receptors. At the end of the drawing of the neuron, you realize that there are receptors. There are dendrites, things known as dendrites. We have receptor dendrites, and we have also the effector organs there. At the end of every neuron, the function of those dendrites is that they receive impulses from one neuron to another neuron. So they receive information and carry to another neuron. That's the function of those dendrites. But when you move to types now of neuron, but I've said neurons are described in three ways: unipolar, bipolar, and multipolar. But we have now types of neurons. Types of neurons, there are three types of neurons grouped according to the direction of the impulse. They are named according to the direction they carry the impulses to. Like we have sensory neuron, we have motor neuron. Sometimes we call them efferent. We have the relay neuron. Sometimes we call them associative neuron or intermediate neurons. But for today, I'll only want us to discuss on the sensory neuron, so that tomorrow we'll move to other types of neuron. Sensory neuron is from the word sense. It is a nerve that connects organs like ears, nose, tongue with the central nervous system. Those organs, example, are the ears, nose, tongue. They are the ones that senses stimuli. So they receive information, and because they receive information, and I've told you the part that receive information in a neuron is a part known as dendrites. So meaning they have receptor dendrites, because we said the part that receives, we call it a receptor. So its receptor dendrites are located in the sense organs. And the sense organs can be ears, nose, mouth, or anything. While the terminal dendrites are located in the central nervous. It connects. So if you realize that the sensory neurons will always be on the organs, like the skin, the nose, taking information. So its dendrites, the dendrites of that neuron, at the end will receive the impulse and take it to the brain. And when it reaches the brain, the brain now, which is the central nervous system, will bring about response. And so its receptor dendrites are located in the sense organ, while the terminal dendrites are located in the central nervous system. Why the terminal dendrites are in there? Because the terminal dendrites are the one that is relaying information to the brain. That's why it is at the end. But at the reception point, we have receptor dendrites. So the same sensory neurons, its function is to transmit nerve impulses from sense organs to the central nervous system. That is its main function. Always in exam, if you are asked, can you give the function of the sensory neuron, is that it helps to transmit nerve impulses from sense organs, any sense organ, maybe ears, nose, anywhere, to the central nervous system. You cannot miss to give its function because of the term sensory. It senses and takes the information, and I've told you all the information is coordinated in the brain. The response, we expect it to come from the brain. So it takes the information to the brain, and the brain is the one that is supposed to bring back. The brain is the part that is supposed to bring back the response. So at the end, you have to know that sensory neurons transmit nerve impulse from sense organs to the central nervous system. And in your book, you will see the drawings of that shows or describe the types of sensory neurons, and they are described as unipolar, bipolar, and multipolar, depending with where the cell body is located. In unipolar, the cell body is located at the center. In the bipolar, the cell body is located also at the center, but at the middle of the axon. But in unipolar, it is on top of the axon. Whereas in multipolar, you realize that the cell body is located where the dendrites are located. You can observe those in the pictures in your book, but just know the function of sensory neuron, that it helps to transmit nerve impulse from sense organs to the central nervous system. See you in the next lesson.